So far, the 2022 season of F1 has been nothing short of spectacular. Every F1 fan is happy that Ferrari is back on top, fighting for wins and podiums, and Red Bulls have picked up the pace after having reliability issues in Bahrain and Melbourne GP. Other teams like Alfa Romeo and Haas have shown immense progress from last year, while Alex Albon is completely outperforming his Williams, being responsible for the 3 points that the team has managed to pick up so far. But I feel like we're missing something, aren't we? Oh yeah, the drama revolving around Mercedes. Well, the season start hasn't been so kind to Mercedes. To be fair, they tried to warn us through Toto Wolff and Hamilton, but all F1 fans know that Mercedes likes to bluff before the season starts, a process called sandbagging. The competition wasn't 100% sure when they did poorly on the practices as well, thinking that they may have a jack in the sleeve kind of solution for the new phenomenon of porpoising. Max Verstappen jokingly said that he 100% believes what Mercedes is going through, but it seems like they have been talking the truth when Hamilton said that they do not have the championship car before the beginning of the 2022 F1 season in Bahrain. When you look at the results, Mercedes P3 in the Constructors' Championship, and they do have a driver in George Russell that has managed to finish top 5 in every race so far, the only one to do so on the grid. However, most of these finishes were due to the retiring of cars that were ahead of them, such as the Red Bulls in Bahrain and Bottas going wide in the last turn in Melbourne. It's worth mentioning that Hamilton hasn't passed the Q1 sector in Jeddah and managed to finish only P10, to which he asked, is there even a point for this place? However, the most painful experience for the 7-time world champion has to be the P14 in Imola. He said, I'm out of it for sure, when asked about the championship race right after the race has finished, and it seemed like he was driving a car that was not even ready to compete in the midfield. On the other hand, you have Russell absolutely destroying the midfield and being in the mix of the top 5 drivers on the grid. So the car itself is not the sole problem, but what does Hamilton have to say about the problems that Mercedes are focusing on right now? First, a short stint about porpoising should be introduced in this video in order to understand what it means. Porpoising is the new phenomenon in F1 where the car bounces on the straights due to it gaining and then losing a massive amount of downforce. Due to the new regulations in which cars were made heavier, F1 executives are really struggling to find a solution to this problem. Mercedes have mostly given up a huge amount of ride height in order to reduce the bouncing, but at the cost of losing lap time due to increased drag and decreased downforce. However, it seems like this isn't the only problem they need to work on to fix, as suspension plays a huge role in it too. Plus, you have the Ferraris aggressively bouncing but still managing to bag in extremely well results. The porpoising itself seems like a huge problem for Mercedes and the teams that they supply their engines to, such as Aston Martin and McLaren, who all had poor starts to the season. When asked about Mercedes' car before the beginning of the season, Hamilton had an interesting choice of words for the testing. The testing has been difficult. It's crazy because years ago, we used to have a lot of test days and now we only have literally 3 days in the car altogether, so it's not a lot of laps. When we go into this race this week, we're still learning about the car. We probably will be for the first 4 races at least. We've got a lot of problems as you have seen. Everyone is bouncing up and down, Hamilton said. Hamilton has finished P3 in Bahrain due to both Red Bulls not being able to finish the race with George Russell being P4. However, he was not happy with the place because everyone saw that Mercedes just doesn't have the pace to fight with Ferrari and Red Bulls in a fair race. After Imola and the miserable finish of Hamilton, he was very critique prone for the engineers and the car developers, as he said in the interview when asked about how he felt when he got lapped by Verstappen. It just shows how wrong we got it. A question was put to me, what happens if you get it wrong? And I said, well, we don't do that. We don't get things wrong. We're world champions. But the fact is, with all the possibilities out there, we may have. Right after the race in Imola finished, Toto Wolff hopped on the radio to apologise to Hamilton for the race and what he had to drive today. Lewis, hi. Sorry for what you have needed to drive today. I know this is undrivable and not what we deserve to score as a result. So we move from there. But this was a terrible race, Wolff finished. "We will come out of this," were his last words in the interview. One could not help but notice that George seemed to outperform his undrivable car to P4, and his engineer told him that he has no idea how you managed to pull this off, while congratulating him on the big result. Prior to this, Hamilton was asked about the Mercedes porpoising in Australia, where he described the car as a rattlesnake. "I'd say the era of the car is the worst for porpoising that I've ever experienced. If the ride height is going high-low, when you turn in, you never know which position you'll catch it in. The car could oversteer or understeer depending on where you catch it. Driving it is a real challenge. It's like a rattlesnake," said Hamilton. But after the Miami GP, when asked if he thinks that Mercedes did a step forward in upgrading the car, he categorically said, "Unfortunately, no, I don't." Hamilton has also been very vocal about the new design of the Mercedes W13, more precisely about the side pods aspect of the car. This is where things get interesting because George Russell has a very different opinion from Hamilton about this design. Hamilton does not support Mercedes' possible decision to revert back to a more traditional design if that's going to help him fight back for podiums. On the other hand, George Russell said that he believes the engineers that work day and night to bring us the best design in the car, and he thinks that there is just one key missing that needs to unlock the full potential of the car, and it's not related to the innovative design of the side pods, which are basically missing. This could bring to us to see different W13s on the track, specially designed for both Mercedes drivers. Hamilton has questioned the designs that the engineers are making back in the factory, and it seems like he is open to any change that will bring him back in the podium fights. However, there might be changes soon on the horizon as Mercedes is bringing in a huge package of updates for the Barcelona GP. So far, it seems like the Silver Arrows are bringing updates similar to Ferrari and Red Bull, with them introducing their own bib wing designs, meant for better aerodynamics of an F1 car. Also, Mercedes is bringing an update to the floor, more precisely to the floor's edge, adding a scythe-like edge floor wing attached at 3 points along its length by metal stairs. The shape of the floor seems to be altered too, in order to incorporate the above mentioned designs. The weekend is upon us, and it seems like we're in for a good fight between Ferrari and Red Bulls. However, we shouldn't exclude Mercedes and their upgrades, as they might be in the mix for the wins or podiums on Sunday when it matters the most.